Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back in this week 4 of JavaScript. As we said earlier in the first video, then we see in this function where where we explain the function. Why do we need the function? The concept of the function, right? In programming in general. So this type we have two types of function. All right, we have what? Two types of function. What do we say? Two types of function. Yes, we have a function, we say function without parameter and function with parameter. What do we mean by parameter? Look at this place here. Now this our function is using this variable, which we write it right from this function, right? So anytime I want to run this function, I can just run it, no problem, right? So what about if we want to send something right from here? In this place here, I want this function to run with a particular value. I want to give it. I want to give a value right from here. I want this function to use this value and do the calculation for me, right? So this is what we call parameters. In defining a function, we can define a parameter to it, or we can decide to say no parameter to it, right? So parameter is a value. When you are calling the function, you give them that parameter so that that parameter will be used inside the function and do whatever we want it to do in the function. Let's look at that in action. Now this one by default, it doesn't have any parameter. So this type of function like this is an example of a no parameter function. If you want to use a parameter function, we need to say here, say okay, num1 here, comma. Then if you having 2, I can say okay, num2 here, right? So if I do this, I can be able to remove all these ones. If I remove them, the function will assume this one is a variable and this one is a variable. Where is it coming from? And we use it here. This one is coming from where? Here. So it's expecting me, as I call it here, it's expecting me to say, hey, I call you, I want you to do the calculation for me, and this is the value. So remember, we said in our JavaScript here, we said num1 and num2 is expecting two things to pass through, right? So if I now come to this place here and I say 49, then comma, I now see 83, all right, comma, like that. So if I save this one, let me just explain it before even go ahead and do whatever. So what is happening is that I call this function. Okay, before I do that, let me just see how we can define it. I say, okay, this is the function, and the function is expecting a value here. Value number 1 is expecting a value number 2. Is that okay? So if when I'm calling this function, I pass this value. This value is going to be used here and here. So this one is similar, is the same thing. Whenever you calling the function, you pass at the first item is going to be a variable that hold that value in that function, like that. And whatever you put at the second value is going to be the second item there. Is that okay? So we are going to prove that and we're going to see it in action. So let me just save everything here and then run it in our browser here. Let me just close this and then refresh this page here. You see that nothing happened, right? But when we click on this, you see that it calculated the value I passed through the form and it goes to JavaScript and use it from there. So it's very easy. What about if I want to know, is it possible, is it true that the first item is this one and the second item I pass from the HTML is the second one there? Okay, now let's look at it in explain mode. Okay, let me see. Let's see. I am passing 49 as the first parameter there, right? Which means this 49 will become our num1. So let's see here. If I come here, I say num1 instead. I'll say num1 instead of the total. I will look at what happened here. If I save this, if I come to this place here and then refresh this page here, you click on this button, you see 49, which is true that yes, it is the actual value I pass. What about if I change this value from the HTML? If I change this value from the HTML maybe to 89, if I save it here, then I come down here, refresh this page, click the button again, you see, okay, I didn't save it. Go, I save it. This is 89. Okay, I didn't refresh the page. That is the problem, right? I just say okay, refresh. Okay, then click on this button. I will see that 89 I passed. So whatever you put at the first one in the function will be the first one to use to be in the variable like that. Okay, so the arrangement is okay. If you put in, let's say, the first one here, therefore the first one will be this, and therefore it is the first element there, first variable here, and this one, the second item you pass will be the second item in the variable there. Can we put more than one, more than two? Yes, we can put a lot of things. If you have 10, 15, 20, no problem, you can put all of them, right? You can put different variable as long as you can remember. Then you just need to separate them with comma. What's the problem of this one, this method? What the kind of possible problem I will have if I specify the two from the when I'm creating the function? Say this function is accepting two values, you go ahead and put one, you have a problem. It will not run. It will say, you say, oh, this function is expecting parameter 2 but 1 is given. All right, that is the only problem. What about, so I know some of you might ask, what about if I put, if you say it's requesting 2, I put more than 2? No problem, you just take the first 2 and use it. Let me show you that. Yes, let me show you something here. Let me change this one to number, to total, I mean, sorry, to here. If I come here, if I come here inside here, I now say 200 comma 760, this one, all of them, they don't care, it can still work for you, but the program is going to consider the first one as the first element, this one as the second element, and use them, right? So if I now come here, my program here, try to say okay here, refresh the page here, then try to run it again, you see that it's only taking the 289 for us, 83 is 172. Is that okay? So if what about if I just change it? If you pass, no matter how, it's going to use them. And what about if, in this case, I don't think you have problem with that. What about if I put string here? So remember when we talk about string and numbers issues, right? If you make it string, actually the calculation will not be conducted. If you now make it like this, maybe like this, or maybe you add name or any email or any word that is not actually a number. So this one, the calculation will not actually hold as the way you expect it to hold. Like, let me show you something like that. Okay, let me prove you that. Okay, click on this, look at it, it's become 89, 88 because of this is not a number, it's a string. Try to do that. What they do is just concat the numbers and go to go like that. So you have to know If you are dealing with number, you make sure that is a number. If you're dealing with a character string, you make sure that you pass a string right from where you are applying the functionality of the code there. Okay. So that is just brief about the two types of a function. The function with a variable parameter, sorry, and the function without parameter. If you have any difficulties in this kind of things, then let's meet in our interactive class where we fix the problem of people working at home or at any other places, offices like that. So see you in the interactive class. If you have any issue, if you don't have any issue, thank you for watching and thank you for your understanding. See you in the next class. We'll be talking about the method of functions and okay, see you there.